Alrighty, IGC fans, welcome to the 41st episode of the IGC podcast, which is the podcast for mature adults, as I've been telling you for probably the past 2 months now. We like to joke around on here, play video games too, curse, get rowdy, have a good time doing it. So here we are. It is now Sunday, June 28th, and we are about a little over a week removed from E3, but we didn't get to have a podcast since E3. So this is the one you're getting all our E3 coverage on. We're a bit late to the party, but we think we have a lot to say about the games. There's been a lot of news generated from these games. There's been a lot of talk, and we've had some time to process those feelings that Nintendo often gives us, and all the other companies, of course. So let's just get right into it. How you guys feeling?
We're going to talk about video games.
We are going to talk about video games.
And there's going to be more video games.
And that's right. In fact, they're going to keep coming out probably until the day we die, and even after that. So we're going to talk about the ones that came out, or heard about recently. So everyone who's here, I'm Greg Roldan, your host, of course, and with us today, Naughties is here.
Indeed, I am.
He's feeling good. Hopefully, you don't have a headache still.
Yeah, residual.
All right, so you're getting by on some Excedrin.
Hell yeah.
And AI is here.
Yep, right here.
And Lucy is here.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully you have fixed your technical difficulties this week.
Yeah.
Good. Because last week it was just... And when you left the chat, we lost everybody. Because everyone was just here for you, apparently.
Okay, good.
And today also with us is our resident Nintendo guru, lover, / something, Papa J.
Hello.
And Seifer is here.
What's happening?
Seifer and I have been spending a lot of time in the same circles lately. It's kind of odd. And interesting.
I'm playing that Final Fantasy.
Yeah. And we're definitely going to talk about that a little bit later. So let's get started with E3. All right, so Nintendo started everything on, was it Saturday or was it Sunday before E3 with the Nintendo World Championship?
Sunday, I think.
Sunday.
Okay,
Yeah,
Sunday.
It was the first thing shown at
Very first thing. I guess, we could just kind of smash everything from Nintendo together because, they had a couple of days off between that World Championship and then what they were actually showing us at their Nintendo Direct, which I think was like Tuesday or something like that. So,
correct.
They showed a lot of stuff, and what did you guys, what sort of stuck out to you in Nintendo, everything about it, from the competition through the show, what did you like, what are you going to spend your money on?
Muppets.
Muppets.
Their Muppet presentation. Subliminal messages.
God, the Muppets, I forgot about that. It's been so long, I think I blocked it out of my mind.
I'm just going to buy up Amiibos so other people can't buy them, I think.
I was thinking about doing that, and I was at Walmart, and I was looking at the Amiibos, and they only had the first edition Amiibos. They don't sell for anything. I was disappointed. I was like, I'm going to buy all those up. I'm pretty sure they sell for a lot, right? And
I don't want to sell them. I just don't want people to have them.
Well, I mean, with the reseller market and some of those Amiibos, you could probably pay back your student loans pretty quick. Just buying them up, getting rid of them for like 10 times the price.
Really? I guess I gotta talk about this thing because nobody else, has a Nintendo system which just gives a rat's ass.
Believe me, we're all waiting for you.
That I would actually buy a 3DS for Fire Emblem Fates if there's other games that came out that were interesting.
Are you saying Nintendo didn't have an interesting show for you?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. In fact, it was actually very, very disappointing.
Well, Papa, let's start with you.
I'll talk a little bit about that.
What did you like about Nintendo? Because you're the Nintendo guy.
I thought the World Championships was pretty cool. They went through a lot of games, old and new, and I guess they spent a long time making some of those Super Mario Maker stages for the final between the two dudes. I think one of them was some well-known speedrun streamer or something. He ended up losing because he is fucking awful at Mario, apparently. But yeah, those stages were pretty whack, and then they kept on showing more Mario Maker stuff throughout the conference, and that's going to waste a lot of my free time. And by waste, I mean make me feel like I accomplished something in life.
Mario Maker looks amazing, by the way. Like I love the fact that it has the various sort of like the 8-bit, the 16-bit like platform stuff that you can create levels within, and just like how it's sort of trying to like compete with like I feel like they should have done this before Little Big Planet did their thing, you know. This is something that should have done forever ago.
It should have been, but I'm just glad it's coming. You know, glad it's coming. 30 years after Mario was invented and conceived. Like you said, a little while, but I actually did get to play it. I got to play it at Best Buy. I actually got out of the house specifically for that at like 10 in the morning or whatever.
Dedication.
Just to go do some hands-on with it. I'll put it this way: I felt really awkward because there's a bunch of kids, just looking to play it as well, and 25-year-old, man.
I was just like manhandling him out of the way, like move, kid.
Get out of my way, children.
One arm, one on the other arm, kick two with the other's way with the legs. Just fucking stood there. But it was fantastic. Like you mentioned, Brad, the really awesome part is you can literally go everywhere from 8-bit to 16-bit to the Super Mario, and you can do everything in between from Super Mario 1 with the 8-bit to like 8-bit Super Mario World 3 or whatever, where it has a slightly different style to it. Then you go to the 16-bit, and you go to the 64. Actually, they don't have a 64 when you just go straight to the Super Mario Galaxy type deal. But yeah, no, it's fantastic. I loved it. That's going to spend a lot of my free time on the weekends now.
I mean, there's definitely going to be a lot of player-generated content available like soon too, because people are going to get into it right away.
The whole game is player-generated content, be it you or online. I really hope it's kind of like Smash, and they do it even better than what they did with that, is where you just upload the levels and you can just peel through levels and just download them. I know I've downloaded a few custom Smash stages that were basically remakes without the textures of some of the old N64 ones, like Temple, which they're actually bringing out. We found out during this E3 conference. Although not for a little bit more length of time, though. But yeah, Mario Maker looked awesome. I'll definitely be buying it. Speaking of Smash, though, there's a lot of Smash news this conference. Lots of Smash news.
There sure was.
So let's see here. They released a bunch of new characters for DLC. I hate the fact that it's DLC, but it's Smash. It's not like I'm throwing them $50, then $50 in DLC over the course of the game every year or two. It's like a once every 4 to 5 year deal, so I'm okay with that. Because they're just not milking money to milk money. Although they kind of are.
Yeah, wait, hold on. What?
They're not doing it unreasonably. They're not doing it unreasonably. You release one
I
game
don't know
every
about that.
4 to 5 years, and I mean the benefit too is you can buy it for cheap skis. If you get it for both systems, then it's cheaper than buying it for each system individually. And I guarantee you, if you have one of the systems, you're probably going to have the other. If you're any type of a Nintendo fan.
So how do you feel about Ryu being in Smash now?
When I first heard about it, I was motherfucking everybody and their mother. But in all honesty, after playing him, he's not all that great. I mean, like, he's good. He'll launch. He has good launch, but he's just very floaty, a little slow. The command inputs are not. And by command inputs, I mean rather than use the special attacks to fire off like the Shuriken or the Hadouken, you can actually use the Street Fighter commands like your Dragon Punches, your quarter circles, and your half circles to do a more powerful version of that. However, because Smash is not a 2D fighter, well, in the sense that, a traditional 2D fighter is, the inputs are very sensitive, so if you try to do a half-circle Hadouken, your character does like a little fucking half-dash in both directions before he does it. So it makes standing on the edge of a platform and guarding really tough, because you basically run yourself off the edge of the platform and then cast the Hadouken. Same shit for like the Shuriken or the...
Well, it's good to know that he's not like OP. It definitely is a strange addition to Smash Brothers. I mean, we haven't seen a Street Fighter game on Nintendo in some time. In some time now, which is odd. I think the two big pieces of news that I've heard constantly buzzing like around and around and around are the Star Fox gameplay showing and the Metroid Prime Blast Ball stuff. And did you guys take a look at that? Because I felt like there's some good stuff here to discuss, and some like, what's going on, Nintendo? What were you thinking, kind of stuff.
That's how I felt about the entire conference.
I was gonna say that's my thoughts about Nintendo like constantly.
Are you saying you didn't like the Yoshi's Woolly World?
No, I don't think Yoshi's Woolly World is bringing anything new to the table. I think it's pretty, and that's pretty much what people have been reviewing it on. I mean,
you're getting yarn covered in meatballs.
It looks great. The game looks cool. It has a very cute aesthetic, but it doesn't really do anything special. It's not like an amazing platformer.
All right, well then let's start off with Star Fox then. So there hasn't been a real Star Fox game. There was a 3DS one, right? That was sort of the re-release of the N64 one. So there hasn't been one in a while, and we got to see the gameplay for Star Fox Zero, and it looks really old. Like, it looks like something that's like last gen or maybe even before that. That's kind of a concern, isn't it?
I mean, yeah, Star Fox is pretty much always a rail shooter. You know, a little bit less hinged than traditional rail shooters, but
it has a big following, regardless.
Yeah, but it's just like, why would I play this over, say, traditional PC flight space sim?
Well, because it's on Nintendo, right? And those markets couldn't be farther away from each other, I think.
The good thing I did see about it, it was actually kind of funny. I remember a couple of podcasts ago, we were making predictions about the what would be the big reveal from the World Championship or whatnot, and E3 in general. I remember a specific somebody saying, if they had a Star Fox game, I could go buy a Wii U. Although I confronted him afterwards about the reveal, and he said, no, not doing it.
Yeah, not impressed with this one at all.
They could have gone the route with the PC space sims though, and made it more open and just like keep that ridiculous Star Fox feel.
I mean, to me, the look of this game, I don't want to make like a huge leap, to say something negative about Nintendo, because Mario Maker is clearly working very well within the hardware confines of what they want to not only promote for the Wii U, but what's capable to be done on the Wii U. And then you look at Star Fox and you say to yourself, so many games on the Wii U get ported to the 3DS. Like, it seems to be like this thing that goes on with general graphical downgrades. Like, this seems to me like a game they probably just could have put on the 3DS, and like it would have been, like. It looks like a 3DS game. It is not refined. Like, Nintendo's not pushing anything in terms of the realms of graphics here, like, at all. They're not, and it seems to me like they're not even trying.
No, I
don't
think
care
they
about
took a more
graphics.
conservative approach with this one in both how they laid out the game as well as graphics. I think they were just trying to ease back into the genre, catch some attention, and then hopefully later down the road it results in a more graphically impressive and more open worldness. I'll tell you what though, and I mentioned this in the forums when we were talking about the conference as it was popping up. The addition of the other vehicles, they added a couple new vehicle types, and they let you actually, rather than have a mission of, oh hey, you're stuck in the Landmaster tank the entire time, you get to pick and choose how you want to attack it.
Mm-hmm.
They actually show the boss where it's like, okay, well, you can go inside and completely blow them the hell up, or you can just fight them off and make them retreat. And by staying outside the arming. So I like the vehicles, because this vehicle implementation is a hell of a lot better, it seems, just at first glance, than the one on the I don't know if it was the GameCube or the Wii, not Dinosaur Planet, but the other one. I forget what the title was called, but it was the one where you basically sat in the Landmaster for half the game, and it really sucked.
I mean, there's a reason these very limited shooters have basically been dead for years, and it's because that we're capable of so much better now in terms of gameplay. And going back to that, I just don't see the appeal.
No, and really they missed a golden opportunity. Like, if you're going to do an on-rails shooter, you have complete control of the player's view of the entire game. You don't have to worry about them, missing, some cool thing or an elaborate set piece. But conversely, you need to take advantage of that and create those awesome things and elaborate set pieces. And I didn't see any of that.
Yeah, I didn't either. It's a concern. It's a concern in this one, but I think that the bigger thing that made the thing that made the biggest splash was when they debuted the Metroid Prime Blast Ball stuff at World Championships. Like people always want a Metroid game for the next generation console, whatever. But I don't think they necessarily wanted a Prime game, and I don't think that they wanted this. And this is odd. This is, I mean, maybe what we saw was not the whole game. Maybe it was like a snippet or like a mini game within a game. I didn't look too much into it, but I felt like this was a disappointment.
Blast Ball comes bundled with, it basically comes as part of 3DS Game Federation Force or whatever the hell it was called. Metro Prime Federations or something.
Which also looks terrible.
So this was them like slapping the Metroid name on something to kind of get something out.
This is, again, nothing special in terms of gameplay. We're seeing this stuff in the VR games. Seeing the 3v3 mech shooters popping up, and they just look much better than even though they're made for VR and not made specifically to showcase on a PC monitor. They still just look flat out better than anything Nintendo's producing in terms of gameplay.
Yeah.
So, like you said, you mentioned the VR thing. It's VR versus 3DS. Like, can you really compare the graphical fidelity of those two and
I'm not
how
even
one looks
talking
over the other?
I'm not even talking about graphical fidelity. I'm talking about gameplay mainly. I mean, it's just like it's a very just slow, stale, from what we've seen, shooter.
I'll agree with you on that point. But again, it does come part as it's basically a mini game bundled with the bigger game, which is the actual co-op game, Federation Forces or something, Metroid Prime something.
I guess what I'm hearing mostly. Go ahead.
Well, I just want to say the only thing that impressed me in the conference is Fire Emblem Fates, which, I mean, Fire Emblem games are always good, so I'm always going to buy one if I have the console, which I don't. So. But, and the Gen A Ibun Roku #FE, which is a terrible name. Yes. And that's basically Shin Megami Tensei X Fire Emblem, but it has some it's like some RPG based on J-pop or stuff, and it has the Fire Emblem and Shin Megami tie-ins, but it's basically its own RPG by itself, and it's from Atlas. It looks like it should be a Vita game, and
lots of fan service.
Yeah, lots of fan service and stuff, But I mean, it looks fun to play, and I'm kind of happy that Atlas is doing that for the Wii. I think that's a Wii U game, right? Not a 3DS.
Yes, that one's a Wii U game.
Yeah, I'm happy that they're finally getting a game that's not just a Nintendo title.
Okay, so I guess what I'm hearing is kind of like the Fire Emblem stuff and Mario Maker was kind of the best in show here for us, for the few of us that cared about Nintendo in general.
You mean the one of us that cared?
Well, I've said before, I care about Nintendo what they do. It's just it doesn't necessarily appeal to me, but what they do is, it's worth watching for the most part, just to see what they are pumping out. Because other people just look at Nintendo for inspiration or something. I don't know. People believe in Nintendo, like they don't believe in other things. They believe in Nintendo.
Also, I mean, Nintendo used to make a lot of games. I mean, they just put out really high quality titles every once in a while, and now it seems like they're just throwing their franchise names on everything, and they're doing a lot of milking with the DLC and now the amiibos. The amiibos pretty much have a function in every single game now. There was a game announced that requires you to buy an amiibo now, which I think is a really thin line that they're going for there.
Yeah, that's terrible.
That's not a good thing for the future.
Maybe for them it's a testing ground. It remains to be seen exactly what their future plans are for that, because there's only one game that they're doing it with. I mean, if they were rolling it out for 3 or 4 games, I could see that kind of being like a business model that they've dedicated themselves to. But it seems to me like this is something that they're going to try. See how it works in the market. But
every game now releases with amiibo tie-ins, and they seem to be getting increasingly more affecting gameplay instead of just being cosmetic stuff. So I'm getting really worried about the amiibos, and I said when they first announced this amiibo stuff, I didn't like the idea of it at all. I think it's just a way for them to make more money.
They're not the only one. So it's a major concern, I think, for a lot of people that you're going to be requiring something, extra from the game to have, which is, as we've seen up to this point, has been, produced in limited quantities and are generally difficult to find for the most part. And we're only now starting to see wave 2s of certain amiibos, right? So it's a concern. I mean, the Splatoon amiibo was a big deal because those only came to get like the little purple inky dude. You had to buy the 3-pack, but the 3-pack wasn't available in the UK when it was very limited quantities. It is a concern. I completely agree with you. So, do we like what Nintendo did, or are we kind of disappointed?
No.
Disappointed.
I like how Yoshi's Woolly World is such a blatant ripoff of Little Big Planet.
I like how
Yes,
Reggie
yes.
got his
Oh,
ass
let's
whooped.
get it real here. Kirby's Epic Yarn came before Little Big Planet. Pretty sure.
Aha.
maybe.
No, it didn't. No, it didn't.
Well, fuck you guys.
All right.
You're all just haters. But no, it's definitely a disappointing conference, minus the World Championships and a couple classical titles like your Fire and your Mario Maker compared to last year. Last year, I'm pretty sure we agreed that they won the conference.
Yep.
Between
I think,
the
yes.
big ones.
I think the Treehouse was pretty good. Like they did the Treehouse stuff during E3. That was pretty good. But the conference itself, the actual press conference, was terrible. The World Championships was good. The Treehouse stuff was good, and what they showed was terrible. I don't like the direction and those heading in. Period.
Well, any other thoughts on Nintendo? In the interest of time, Lucy?
I was just saying I like how Reggie got his ass whooped in Smash Brothers.
Oh yeah. Jesus Christ! Why did he ever even bother?
Why did he
Dude, that
why
was
did he do
painful.
that?
Ridiculous.
All he did was Tatsumaki, Senpaiaku, or whatever, and
What do you go down the whole self-esteem preservation act? Oh, well, I have a company to run, and
I spent 16
don't have
hours a day
time.
running the company.
He got mad.
You spend 16 hours a day fucking off.
Yeah, basically. All right, so let's talk about the press conference that started everything off at E3. I watched it live. Oh my god, I was so taken aback by it. Bethesda.
We're really talking about Bethesda? Nobody cares.
Are you kidding me? Holy shit.
Nobody important cares.
So Bethesda started out with Doom. What do we think about Doom?
I like where they're going with it. They need
Okay.
to just fucking speed it up. Like they're sitting there, this entire demo. They're showing off, like, we're really bringing back like the fast-paced shooter feel. I'm like, dude, if this is fast-paced, I'm way too young still, apparently.
I don't know. I was pretty impressed by it. I thought they were just gonna go the Doom 3 route, where it was gonna be more horror and try to tell a story, but there's no real story there to tell.
Well, the story is what has always been: go to Mars, kill aliens.
Yeah,
Yeah,
humans
that's
on
what
Mars.
I want.
They want
That's
you
what I
dead.
want. I just wanted to be, just go in there and kill shit. That's what Doom is, and that's what we saw.
I think
So I think it was a good overall trailer.
Yeah, I think the speed is worth mentioning because, like, when you watched it play through, like, it was obviously fun and gory and whatever, but you kind of wanted it to be faster a little bit. Maybe that was done for like the slowdown for the demo or the trailer or whatever they were showing us, but it was lengthy. It was like 8 minutes or something like that, and it looked like Doom.
I don't think it can be faster. I think they're already pushing tech limits on it, and that's probably why it has to be that slow.
I don't know. I think it has a lot to do with control balancing, honestly.
In
You
what
can't
way?
have a fast-paced precision action game on a fucking console. It's just not gonna fly.
So we're talking about technical limitations again.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's worth mentioning. I mean, but Doom did start on the PC, right? And now we've seen it. It's evolved into the console, and yeah, it is going to be hand-tied by that.
I think the pacing's fine on it, personally, but
Well, I mean, but the thing is, you watch that demo, that entire 8-minute long demo, and it's apparent that there's not an actual human controlling that character. It's some type of fucking script they've got running. Like, the movements are just not natural at all. No human is going to, either on a gamepad or with a mouse and keyboard, is going to move like that.
I can tell you this: every conference we saw, except the PC one and the PlayStation one. The PlayStation had all their live demos were actually played by people. But yeah, every other one was run by, even the ones where they acted like people were playing it, like Ubisoft. Those were all scripted.
Sometimes demos like that are a testament to like how the developer intends for a player to play as well. And while it seems stiff and rigid, it may actually be like one of the people who made the game playing it, and we just look at it like, why would you move that way? You know, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah,
It's what we saw.
Yeah,
It
that
wasn't
aside,
bad.
it looked
I think
good.
It looked good. It
And
looked
I think
good.
that there's some new gameplay elements in there. There's no more, it didn't look like there were health packs. It looks like you regain health by kind of engaging in like little melee finishing maneuvers. I like that
Yes.
change.
Yeah, more risk for the reward kind of thing.
Right. And not, having to worry about getting your next health fix in some exploding barrel or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, overall it looked pretty good. And then the big announcement that people were like waiting for, obviously, that got leaked just before
Battle
the
Cry.
conference. Not Battlecry, no. Dishonored 2.
Can we talk about that?
I mean, if you wanted to mention Battlecry,
it was just so. I felt so bad for those guys.
oh,
Like,
it looked
was just-
so bad.
It was. I think it was right after Doom got announced or something.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and then they showed that, and it's like, wow.
Like, that's their competitor to Overwatch, right? And what was the other one? Gigantic, right?
Gigantic,
It's like an arena
Battleborn.
shooter. That's what Bethesda
There's a lot of
came
them
out
now.
with. Like, that's what they're publishing. I don't know. To me, that's not even worth breath, whatever. But Dishonored 2 looked really good. It got a huge ovation from the crowd.
Mhm.
And I know Lucy played it. I played it. Pretty fun, right?
Yeah, I was a big fan of the first one, and I don't like shooters that much, so it looked pretty good. I mean, we didn't see any gameplay, we just saw the CGI trailer, but
Yeah, why does this kind of ovation from a crowd? They didn't show anything.
I think people were just
showed the
excited
six.
that they made another one.
It was a big hit.
Hmm.
The first one was a big
It
hit
was a
from a
surprise
small
hit for
studio.
them.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I figured they would make a sequel to it, and there it is.
Well, they sort of set it up for a sequel. I don't know. It was a game that did well. I mean, I would say, you might liken it to Mirror's Edge in that it had like a really big following, and some people loved it and some people hated it. But there's going to be a sequel to it, and people are looking forward to it, I guess.
Well, I mean, aside from Battlecry, which was not well received at all, the Dishonored reveal was an actual reveal. There'd been nothing said before the conference about it. We all knew Doom was coming. We all knew Fallout was coming. We all knew they were doing some Elder Scrolls Online crap that nobody cares about. But Dishonored 2
Battlecry
was a
wasn't
good
new
reveal.
either. We've known about Battlecry as well.
We're not talking about Battlecry. Fuck Battlecry. You're gonna crash
There
and burn.
was
Sorry.
another big reveal though.
What's that?
Huh?
Tell us
The
more.
Elder Stones game, Hearth Scrolls.
Their Hearthstone's game.
Right.
Yes. Okay, so yeah, they're gonna have a CCG game. Wonderful. Like,
And nobody cares.
the thing is, people, as long as the model is similar to Hearthstone, people will play that
I don't know. I think people
they are
play
close.
Hearthstone.
They are
Why would
close
they
to
move on?
things because
It's just like people to these games that copy WoW. Why would anybody move from WoW when they're already playing WoW to play another clone of it?
Well, because arguably the Elder Scrolls series has a longer lasting and deeper, richer history than the World of Warcraft, right? Do they have as many NPCs that are notable? Probably not. But hell, have personalities and they have characters that they can throw into a game like this.
That's debatable.
Yeah,
I don't know what exactly the potential for expansion is necessarily, but there's some stuff there, on paper. I mean, they could do the same thing with Fallout. They can make a Fallout card game. Think about how many NPCs there have been in the Fallout world,
I think
right?
that would work better than the Elder Scrolls card game.
Maybe, but right. But
Yeah,
they showed
name
us
some of those NPCs in the Fallout world.
Moira Brown was a lovely NPC.
Cogsworth.
Cogsworth, okay, whatever. Tenpenny.
Dogmeat.
There was good NPCs. No, I mean you whatever. They're there. Anyway,
Recently.
let's go.
I can't name any in the Elder
Look.
Scrolls series.
We're just beating around the bush entirely because obviously the reveal that everyone came out to see was Fallout 4, and it was leaked. They showed us stuff about it. We saw a trailer. Some of us were impressed, some of us were not impressed, and here we
I don't
are.
know. I mean, we had the week, and again, I said, wow, that's like no big deal that week. I mean, why did they do that before E3? And then they came out with this gameplay stuff, and they showed all this new shit you could do in Fallout 4, and I'm like, okay,
That's
here we
right.
go. That's some good news.
Right.
I
This
got
was-
hyped again.
This was by far the best like viewing of a game like the entire show, in my opinion. Like, they showed you the base building, they showed you the complex crafting system, they showed you the companion system, they gave you a release date, they showed you an awesome collector's edition that you fucking want to buy. Like, that got sold out in minutes across Amazon, Best Buy, everywhere else. They're now reselling them again. It's like, they showed us a little mobile game, Fallout Shelter, which has been taking the internet by storm, essentially. Like, holy crap, we saw a lot of Fallout 4 that I think people were not expecting necessarily to see. You know, everyone was talking before the conference, oh, they showed us, you know, they showed their hand. They showed us Fallout 4 trailer, like, what are they going to do about it? Well, guess what? This is what they showed us everything about this game, basically.
I think
Yeah,
it's
they hit a
important
lot
for
of high
viewers.
notes.
I think it's
It really
important for
did.
viewers, listeners, whatever, to know that you guys were ragging on Fallout 4 and Doom after
Oh, of
that
course.
Bethesda review, and you guys completely
I was.
fucking turned 180.
If you've ever listened to the podcast before, I vehemently state I freaking hated Fallout 3. Fallout 3 was a terrible game. I know people are going to disagree with me on that, but you know, from a gameplay stance, it was okay. But story-wise and, you know, depth and involvement, it just wasn't there. And so I came into the conference, you know, ready to just completely hate on Fallout 4. And while we're still going to see if the story's there this time, from a technical standpoint, the game looks really impressive.
All right, I'm going to defend myself a little bit there. First off, I never said I hated Fallout 4. I think it's going to be a good game, and I said that. I said I'm just not excited about that reveal, that game before E3. Because it
Just
didn't.
think it's
That's fair.
insane.
And
That's
now
fair.
this one did. This one showed all this new stuff that I could do in Fallout 4 that wasn't in the previous game, and now I'm excited for a game. And they had a release date that was really close. It's really close to releasing. I don't have to wait. I could get hyped about this game, and it's going to come out, and I don't have to worry about getting overhyped or anything.
Yeah, the thing
And-
is, they showed gameplay. That was their big thing. I mean, I was kind of proud of people during E3 when they were just showing reveal trailers of just CG shit and, like, no one was clapping.
But isn't Fallout coming out this year?
Yeah, November
Yeah,
10th,
yeah,
2015.
November?
November 15th.
Yeah, so they did a good job. I mean, they
But I mean, yeah, back
that
to
was the
the
best way for them to advertise.
conference. I mean, they showed lots of gameplay. They showed something they're releasing now. They gave people a bunch of figurines, which is kind of but
11.
I mean, they
November
did
10th.
they did everything that would be expected from a press conference, I guess.
And this is why, and this was the first year that they had done an actual press conference at E3, and they knocked it out of the park with this. Like, they set the bar so high, and I think that's why a lot of people, as the shows went on, weren't clapping necessarily for reveal trailers, because of what Bethesda had set the bar. They were like, we're going to not only announce one of the most anticipated games of this, probably the next 5 years, but we're going to show you a shit ton of stuff about the game. We're going to go in depth about the game. Todd Howard came out and just hit a grand slam, and everybody there was like going crazy.
It's also worth noting out of the conference they showed the least amount of games. So yeah, quality over quantity.
That's absolutely right. Because like the Elder Stones thing was basically just a mention. They didn't show anything, not a trailer.
And people were not excited for that.
Right, they were not excited.
announced.
They're just like, this is something we're doing on the side. People were super excited about Fallout Shelter. I think that one was like, holy crap, people love that. But yeah, they not. I mean, for me, this was, you know, I'll just show my like this. For me, this was the best show at the conference. Like, compared, it was just everything I wanted it to be, and it's not just because I'm a Fallout fan. Or a Dishonored fan necessarily, because I'm not, or an Elder Scrolls fan, but this was like the way you should do a conference, period. This was the best use of 90 minutes of my life in the past, like, you know, 2 weeks, aside from when I got married last weekend.
Yeah, back to the flip-flopping thing. I mean, all they showed was a CG trailer, and people are fucking just sick of that shit. They actually showed gameplay, and people were getting into that. The fucking laser musket, fantastic.
Yes. Just like when they had like the montage of just how to kill people, like all the different deaths and weapons and stuff like that. Just that's what people want to see. They want to know that in Fallout you're gonna put janky ass weapons together and just blow shit up. Become part of what it is now. So did we like the Bethesda conference, guys, as much as I did, or maybe a little less?
Yeah, they definitely came out and put on an impressive conference.
Yeah, it's one of my most favorite ones for that year.
All right.
You know, I'm going through it and I'm thinking like maybe it's not my favorite, but it's definitely up there. It's definitely a really great conference, and I'm excited to see what they do in the future if they do these again.
Fair enough. And we're gonna get Fallout in 5 months. It's amazing. Less than 5 months now. It's so exciting. Okay, so let's move on before I jizz my pants more. Xbox. So Xbox conference was up next, the very next day. And so what was the big stuff for you guys that came out of the Xbox conference? I have an idea or two, but I want to hear from you guys first.
I don't really care about the Xbox conference, but what I was the most excited about, and this is the game, one of 3 games that I'm excited about when it comes to PC, is the Tomb Raider.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm
I
right
thought
there with
the
you.
Tomb Raider looked really good.
And they gave it a lot of screen time.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't look too much different.
There was quite a long gameplay video, like 80 minutes too, or something.
Yeah, it was long.
I mean, yeah, it didn't look much different, but I thought the scope of it was so much bigger because, like, you're obviously at one part you're in Russia, then you're in some sort of South American looking location, and it just looked great. Like that part when they're climbing the mountain and you can see all the footsteps in the snow and stuff, and it just looked really good to me.
Mm-hmm.
It looked better to me than the Uncharted.
Yeah, and I think they did. I mean, we've seen a lot of Uncharted so far, but this I think was a great game. I totally agree with you, and I'm definitely looking forward to this. Just not on Xbox.
Yeah, we're finally gonna get tombs in Tomb Raider, because that was the complaint about the first one, that it wasn't really exploring tombs that much. It was more of a survival game.
See, for me, I'm not really excited about Tomb Raider at all, but there's actually a lot of stuff in the conference that I wouldn't say like super excited about, but there's some interesting stuff there. I mean, the backwards compatibility was a huge announcement.
That was a big announcement, I think.
Yeah, that was a big stab at PlayStation. Like, hey, why haven't you been doing this?
Yeah, and now they have something over the PS4. I mean, I think the Xbox has always been kind of like you guys aren't quite. There's no reason for you to pick this up over a PS4 in terms of hardware.
Okay,
and
now how
they
does
have something over it?
How does it work? Because I forget. It's been 2 weeks. So you have to own the game, right, and have it in your library, and then you can.
You could have it downloaded digitally, or you could have it. You could have the CD, and what it does is the CD just confirms like DRM style if you have the game or not. You're still emulating the game through their emulator, and so that's what it's doing.
It's not
actual
an emulator. Let me break this down real quick. It's like when Apple switched from PowerPC to Intel. They released, the Rosetta, basically not a transcoder, translator. This is that backwards. They're literally going to translate the x64 back to the PowerPC, basically instruction set, or PowerPC to the Intel chipset.
That's
and
exactly
so in order
what
to do that,
emulator is.
It's not an emulator.
It's emulating the code from the old system.
Anyway, there are technical differences, but the limitations are they have to enable all these games. So they basically are going to select probably just the most successful, most popular 360 games.
Right. So it's not the whole library.
Anything. It's the developers that get to select this if it's backwards compatible or not, and they literally just flip a switch and enable it.
Like back to the thing that when they were talking about, oh, you don't need to pay for it. That's the slap I was talking, because when they did that with Vita, switching the PSP games into the Vita, I think it was only in Japan you could have the serial number mail-in or some weird shit like that. Anywhere else, you had to buy the game on their store, the PSN store, to be able to play it again.
Right, that's when they switched from the UMDs, right? The digital stuff, yeah. Yeah, this was a big announcement. Like, it got a huge ovation from the crowd to hear that our games are going to be backwards compatible. I mean, before people even heard like what the limitation of it was or what the details were, people were like, "Holy shit, this is what we want!" If it means what we think it means, which it mostly kind of does.
No, they're not all going to be backwards compatible. Like I said, it's going to be the developer's discretion or the publisher's discretion, more likely. Because you can sure as hell bet a lot of these publishers are going to say no because we're going to do a remaster and sell that.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that's why they didn't just flip it all on for everybody, because that would cause a lot of issues with publishers that they didn't want. So,
Okay. Well, what else?
I mean,
was
good
big?
for Xbox. For me,
Yeah.
I like that Plants vs Zombies Garden Warfare 2 is coming out. That's a good game.
Danger Zone.
Danger Zone. God, it got
And,
overused.
There was Halo 5, of course. But I mean, it's usually what people buy the Xbox for.
Mm-hmm.
Halo game. And then the big one for me was probably Rare Replays.
Yes, the rare replays. This was funny because it was kind of like a response to them, people constantly asking them to put Battletoads, like, or release a Battletoads game, and Phil Spencer was like, all right, well, we'll just give you the old Battletoads game on a disc with 30 other rare games.
There's still a rumor they're going to come out with a Battletoads game, a new one.
Maybe
They're
for next
showing
year.
some Battlefield gameplay, but I don't know if you want to save that for the EA press topic.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, probably.
Fable
and
Legends looked pretty good, I gotta admit. Like, I like the art direction, and it looked like they've made a lot of technological advances in that design, and it's also cross-platform with the PC.
And there was also Sea of Thieves, which looks pretty interesting. It's from Rare, and it's an MMO. So I don't know if it's a true MMO or it's like an MMO like Destiny is an MMO, but we'll see.
Yeah, and there's a lot of notable stuff from here. Like Fallout 4, the mods will be available on Xbox One. There's probably going to be some limitation to that, obviously.
And you could port it over from PC to Xbox One.
Mm-hmm. I think the Gears of War HD remaster re-release was a pretty big thing that people were asking for a while, and we're going to get that.
And a new Gears as well.
Yeah, and a new Gears game, right? Gears 4.
I mean, they brought a lot of games. This is a lot. I think they had the most games out of any conference.
Yeah, I mean, and it was a good conference. I mean, like we give Microsoft a lot of shit for just being Microsoft, but like, I mean, we saw the HoloLens being used for Minecraft, and I came in here the day after to talk to a couple of you guys and some other people about it, and I was like, it looks awesome, but I'm not sure like exactly what kind of utility that has in the game, like for real.
It's impractical. It's just gimmicky, but
yeah,
it looks great.
But it looks
It's
awesome.
probably
Yeah,
too expensive for anybody to reasonably buy, but
I think the
It's
guys
not
on the
a-
International Space Station would disagree with you on the gimmicky stuff.
okay, yeah.
Although
but
they won't get to use them yet.
We have
That is
gravity.
I don't know.
another go up.
there is plenty of gimmicky stuff that NASA and other companies use, but that's an older argument.
All right, so overall feelings for Microsoft.
Very solid.
I
Meh.
agree.
Did we talk about that freaking $150 controller? It's basically slight variation on the Razer version.
No, I
Or no?
didn't think we needed to.
Well, I didn't know
controllers-
it was $50.
Controller's $150. It's cool, and it has an actual 3/4 headphone jack instead of their proprietary bullshit jack.
Why would anyone pay $150 for an Xbox controller, though?
Really, the only difference.
Are you a MLG no
Dude,
scope
it's a
Elite
pro
Sword?
controller.
Oh, and it will be compatible with Windows 10, which is a whole other reason that it's out there now.
Oh, so you can spend the money on the controller instead of the operating system now. I see what they're
Yeah,
doing.
basically they figured, you know what, the operating system's free. You're going to pay $75 for the controller to use it in your Xbox, and you're also going to have to pay $75 to use it in your PC. So it's $150. Just, addition, just marketing that way. It just makes sense, right? So it's $150.
Oh, absolutely.
Or you can
This
just
is
buy the
not gonna
wireless
make you
dongle and be
better.
done with it.
This is not going to make you a better gamer.
It will not make you a better gamer, regardless of it being called the Elite Pad. Okay, so the EA conference. EA. It was very underwhelming for me personally. Thoughts? I'm guessing from the silence in the room you don't give a shit.
The only thing
Kind of like
I liked
EA.
was just the Battlefield. I mean, it was very, very showy, very appealing to watch, but it was just watching.
They didn't show much gameplay, and what they did show gameplay on was their sports games and their Need for Speed and
Right.
stuff. I'd argue most hardcore gamers don't care about.
How fucking
Poor
long did they
gamers.
spend on that shit? Like 35
They
minutes
spent
on sports?
I think over an hour on the sports thing.
Okay.
Like there was nothing. They spent a little bit of time on Unravel, but they didn't show much of that. They spent a little bit of time on Star Wars. They spent a little bit of time on Need for Speed. They showed a Mass Effect reveal trailer that they spent a whole minute on, and they showed some Mirror's Edge, and then Battlefront, which they spent a lot of time on.
God, I
Which was
missed
the
like
only
half
thing.
that.
The Battlefront was the only thing that was good about the conference.
Yeah, and it was shown at other conferences too, here and there. Hey, they had Pele promoting soccer because that matters. Anyway, the only
Pele's old. It's like 1990s.
the only
Retro.
games that honestly seemed to matter were Mass Effect Andromeda, which we saw no gameplay for whatsoever, which is a disappointment. And then Mirror's
and the
Edge.
applause showed. That's why
Absolutely. You're absolutely right.
I was very happy to see that.
People heard about that game earlier this year, and they should have shown us at least a fucking peek. I mean, the only literal thing we saw was like somebody standing at the map, and that was probably pre-rendered CGI anyway. Very disappointing. Mirror's Edge Catalyst, for the people who give a fuck about Mirror's Edge, I don't know who you are or why you care about Mirror's Edge. You should die. This is
All of
awful.
Kotaku.
Gonna be awful.
Tell us how you really feel there.
Mirror's Edge is awful. Okay, there are a dozen other games that have done parkour since the first Mirror's Edge, and I see no reason to reboot this series of one game.
They haven't done first-person parkour.
I don't give a fuck about this game. Like, if you ask me, Gray, is there a game you give less of a fuck about than Outbreak of World War III? I would say it's this game. I don't give a shit about this game. They shouldn't make this game.
You care less about Mirror's Edge Catalyst than all those sports games they announced?
Yes. Yes, I do. Are you shocked? You shouldn't be. Okay, anyway, so Star Wars Battlefront.
I just wonder, honestly, it's a pretty universally agreed upon fact that, that's a good game. Like, it was critically,
I don't know who. There's some sort of shenanigans involved in this because I'm pretty sure everybody agreed that game was crap. I don't know how it ended up being this, hit that everybody's talking about. Because I never spoke to one person who liked that game.
It was an underground, had an underground following.
Like it.
Yeah, probably. And they're the ones who with the power, right? It has a small underground following that they then latched onto and were like, we need to make a second game of this in this series. In fact, this isn't even a follow-up to that game. This is not even considered a true sequel. This is like a reimagining of the original Mirror's Edge, which is like, what do you need to reimagine? She's a chick who does parkour and she delivers shit, and she's a thief, and in this one you can't even shoot guns. At least in the other one you could pick up a weapon and actually fire it. This one is pure parkour. It's like, this is terrible. It's
Play
terrible.
Assassin's
You
Creed.
know
I
how
want
scripted
parkour.
that's gonna be?
They should use all the plastic that they would use to print CDs for Mirror's Edge, DVDs, whatever, and turn them into glasses, and then give away glasses to children that have no vision or something, like in poor countries. That would be a better use of their resources than making this game.
No, they should just make that into glass and wrap it in the eyes of people who like the first Mirror's Edge.
I like that idea.
You see who I have to deal with, audience? A bunch of haters up in here. All the time.
It was an awful
It's
game.
just, it wasn't that great, and it was just
Awful.
hyped as shit. That's just, I don't like any game that.
I don't disagree
It's that
that's
kind of
awful.
treatment.
I'm just saying, you guys are some grade A haters.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get it. Critics and users agree it was a pretty decent game. I mean, I'm not going to place it up in my, pantheon of top 10 or anything. Maybe not even top 100, but I don't, have venom in my voice when I mention this game.
Mirror's Edge.
Now, I know it's not going to turn out as good as it looks, but Battlefront looked great. I mean, it felt like a Star Wars game.
Battlefront is interesting because people love Star Wars, people love Battlefield, and they're bringing those together, which is nice. I just wonder if it's gonna, which half of that equation is gonna overpower the other, or if they're actually gonna come in equal doses.
Well, it's DICE
I
doing
feel like it's going to
okay.
be worse Star Wars, honestly. But
So
I mean,
this
it
thing's gonna
was
be
just
broken
all
for 6
grapples.
months.
Yeah, I mean, DICE is good at one thing. It's the graphical shit, but
is
Very
it going
showy.
to play correctly?
You're gonna need
Is it
more.
gonna
Yeah,
be buggy
probably
past
not.
Release?
I mean, Battlefield 4, people were suing the company, so
So, I mean, do you guys play Battlefield? Anyone here play Battlefield? I mean, is this a game that you're going to be watching or pick up?
I have all the Battlefronts. I did thoroughly enjoy them. Like I said, this one, cash on delivery. I'll wait to see how it turns out when it's released.
This isn't Battlefront. This is
same.
Star Wars Battlefield.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
one of the things that they were mentioning when this game was first announced was, it wasn't going to be Battlefield, but what they showed clearly looked like Battlefield. You had control points, they were being captured, people were dying and shooting each other, flying around vehicles. It looked just like Battlefield. So where's the difference in gameplay here?
But it did feel and look like a Star Wars game. But then again, that's EA. They were very good at bull shots. They're pretty much on the level of Ubisoft at that, and don't trust anything. And
The
games
Battle
are
of
buggy
Hoth
messes.
video gameplay footage they showed, though, they state that was captured from a PS4.
But from what I understand, people are pretty excited about it.
Yeah, people are pretty excited about it.
Until it releases.
Yeah, like Mirror's Edge. Okay.
Yeah, I think the Battle of Hoth was... They had to kind of choose that to show the AT-AT getting taken down. Because it wouldn't have felt like a Star Wars game other than that, like you were saying. It would have just felt like a run-and-gun blaster warfare.
Yeah, I mean...
They had Darth Vader come out in one of the trailers.
It didn't do anything.
They had to
Choke
use
some guy.
iconic moments in the Star Wars universe to sell your game. And what's more iconic than the Battle of Hoth? I mean, it is
Exactly.
the perfect battle.
Had the boob nipple guns going off, shooting up and down.
The power generator has a goal. You do that little tow cable rope wrap thing. It's a perfect game. I mean, Shadows of the Empire did it too, so we all know how that was a good game.
Well, the original Battlefront had it also.
Yeah, it did. The first Star Wars Battlefront. This is the other Star Wars Battlefront. Okay, let's talk about Ubisoft. So Ubisoft kicked off their show by basically showing what they actually wanted, which was the new South Park game, and then it went downhill from there. So, what do you guys think about it?
It was really bad.
I think For Honor looked okay. I think the actual presentation was horrible. I mean, stop
It
trying to
was
be
so
edgy, Ubisoft.
boring.
Are you trying to tell me that you didn't like when Jason Derulo came out and was singing really badly?
Was he even playing that game? I don't understand.
No,
what
he was
going
just
on there?
doing whatever the fuck he wanted, I think. I think the dancers were actually doing the moves, but he wasn't.
But For Honor looked good. But I will say this: Ubisoft, stop trying to stop bringing people out there and acting like they're playing your game when it's clearly pre-recorded footage.
Yeah.
Stop that shit. I mean,
Yeah.
you fucking worry about everything. Don't joke about DLC either. That was really bad.
It's too soon.
When your company has that reputation, you're not allowed to joke about that shit.
Is anyone going to mention like the elephant in the room with and I feel like Naughty's is already thinking about it because he loves the use of this, but seriously, 3 games? Do we need 3 Tom Clancy games coming out in the same fucking
one of which
year?
was heavily downgraded.
Like, not 1 or 2, but 3. There's 3. And they're from like every one of the major series, right? What is it? It's Ghost Recon. They didn't do Splinter Cell, right? No, The Division, right? Is considered a Tom Clancy game.
Yeah.
And what was the other one? Oh, fuck.
The
Who
other
even
one
gives
was-
a shit?
Nobody gives a shit.
It's the Division,
I don't
right?
know. They paid a lot of money for his name. They're
Rainbow
gonna use it.
Six.
That's
Rainbow
it.
Six.
End of the line.
So, yeah, Rainbow Six, right?
I think Rainbow Six looks good. The Division was just downgraded. Hell, I have no interest in that game now. It looks like a very boring MMO now.
It does. I'm kind of shocked when they showed Anno 2205, like in the middle of all this. I was kind of shocked that Ubisoft is actually still interested in even making like city simulator builder type games. Like I figured that they would have just like left that off somewhere else, but like they clearly want to publish another game like that, and like in a very volatile market for that kind of game on console.
Clearly, because you could just throw DLC at it.
I guess so, yeah. I guess you guys aren't feeling this one, huh?
Nope.
It's Ubisoft. Okay,
They had the
I
worst-
didn't even watch the conference. I can't listen to any of the Guillemots, or whatever the last name is, any of those guys talk, especially like Eves. That guy it's like nails on a chalkboard, the voices.
It had the worst presentation of all the conferences. The games are pretty bad. Not anything too exciting.
What's with that medieval game? That looked so
That looked
bad.
pretty good. No, I thought it looked pretty good.
For Honor,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it didn't look too bad. We need to see more.
Yeah.
I want to see more, but it looks like it has some
It
potential.
looked extremely repetitive.
Okay, so no one wants to talk about Ubisoft. And we already saw everything from AC Syndicate, like, before the show even took place. So
Yeah, I mean, the South Park, I don't know if anyone played the Stick of Truth, but it was actually funny as hell and very entertaining, kind of little Paper Mario type game. So I'll probably pick up the Fractured Butthole, but
I watched the conference because they said that they're gonna be working on some new RPG title, and yeah, then this was the worst 60 minutes of my life.
They announced some new RPG title I think it's called Heroes, and it's like based on like it's kind of like what's that movie called with the little kids and they get superpowers, and then one kid goes on a rant. Well, it's like, kind of like that. It's like teenagers getting
Akira?
Scott Pilgrim?
based. I don't know. It's like called. I think it's called like Chronicles or something.
it's
Oh, okay.
I vaguely
Chronicles,
remember
yeah.
this. Anyway,
No,
Yes.
but it's like that, except it has more fantasy elements to it.
I feel like they started off, with the biggest sort of thing that they were going to do, which was South Park, and then after that, it was kind of like, everything else, whatever they're coming out with.
After the fourth shooting game, I was like, are they just showing the same game over and over?
Well, they showed you 3 Tom Clancy games, right? So
Yeah.
kind of. Okay, so the Sony conference was pretty good.
It was really good.
It was
That was
pretty
my
damn good.
favorite.
So what did you like about it, Lucy?
Well, they started off with The Last Guardian,
Uh-huh.
the mythical title that was up in the air for God knows how long. It was
Right.
canceled, then
Confirmed for
not
real.
canceled, then not then canceled again. Then it was I think it was on PS2 and then PS3 and PS4.
It's real, guys.
Something
It's still
like that.
not a thing yet.
They showed a decent amount of gameplay. I mean, it was kind of like, what the fuck am I watching? But I mean, they showed you something.
No, they actually said that the game is finished. Like the game was finished for a while. It's just that they decided to port it to PS4, and that's what's been taking so long.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense, kind of.
So it's kind of like a PS3 game.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Last Guardian, really excited about that one.
All right, well, what else made their conference good?
Final Fantasy VII.
Uh-huh.
oh, the
remake.
Yeah.
Actual remake.
Yeah, the real like HD like super fucking big remake. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
how long
gotta
are
say-
we waiting for that? Like
Yeah.
break glass if in emergency. And there's just the Final Fantasy VII remake.
And I gotta say, before I saw that, I was always saying that I don't need a remake. But after seeing the trailer, I was like, yeah, it kind of hit that nostalgia note with me.
I just wonder if people are actually going to care about that game. Like, I know that people are going to buy it. They're going to go out. They're going to spend $60 on it. But like, are they going to then play it and be like, man, I wish they had just left it where it was, and kind of thing. Like,
Yeah,
nostalgia really
yeah.
fucks with you.
No,
You
I
said
think
video games.
Final Fantasy VII needs a remake. It has horrible translations. There's giant holes in the story, and the gameplay could use some modernization.
Listen, I completely agree with you. I agreed with you yesterday when we talked about it. I just feel like the motivation behind creating this game is purely nostalgia, and will people appreciate this game like they appreciated the first one?
Yeah,
Is always my
but
concern.
that's
will.
the thing. When we played it back then, we didn't care about any of that. It was, blew your tits off.
Well, I mean, I was confused about the storyline, but I also didn't care enough to play Dirge of
Yeah.
Cerberus or the other follow-ups for it.
Square
left it where it
Enix
is.
can't fuck this up. If they fuck this up, they will severely
deserve
damage
it.
their reputation.
No. Listen, Seifer's got the right of it though, because I love his analogy about like this was the behind break it from emergency glass, but there is another game behind even that one in the emergency glass, and it's called Chrono Trigger. So let's see how this one goes, and if they fuck it up or do really well, I think either way we might see a remake to Chrono Trigger at some point, or at least a spiritual successor or a real sequel.
I was going to talk about that at Square Enix.
If this one is successful, we're gonna be in a whole new Square Enix age of remakes.
We might. We just
I
might.
don't know about that.
I mean,
They already said that they want to remake 4 and 5.
I mean, that's what Square Enix does, though. They remake shit. That's what they've been doing. It's not anything new. It's
Seems to be working well for them.
Yeah, I mean they
well, I should say port. They don't.
they
really
republish.
remake the games.
I mean, they've got Eidos Montreal. They have Deus Ex, which is essentially like a reboot to the series, and Tomb Raider, right? And they've done well with those titles. Like, why the fuck not? Keep doing it if you're making money, right? It's not shovelware because they're not putting out a title every year.
And
See,
people
why
are
don't you guys
pretty
have that
happy
attitude
about
with
Deus Ex,
Nintendo?
and well, that's why, because people are pretty happy with Deus Ex and Tomb Raider. Doesn't seem like people are happy with Nintendo.
Yeah, I agree. So the Uncharted 4 reveal was another thing that was anticipated pretty highly, but there was a little bit of a glitch. I think someone didn't plug in the controller.
But I didn't care
cute.
about it. It just didn't feel like Uncharted to me. Like Tomb Raider trailer did everything what I was hoping Uncharted would do. Like they just showed him driving around the Jeep, and that's not what Uncharted is about for me.
I don't know. I think it looked great. I'm like, I'm pretty excited for the game.
It looked great, and I think what Naughty
That's
Dog
all.
is trying to get you to think of is you know how the Batman trailers up to this point have kind of been like piecewised out to like the same sort of ongoing story. I think that Naughty Dog is trying to do that same thing with Uncharted 4, but to get you interested, because like the last gameplay we saw about them at their PlayStation experience in the fall, we saw like 10 minutes of Uncharted 4 and like, you know, the takedowns and the shootouts and all that stuff.
Yeah, and
This showed us
I
the-
guess you're right.
Yeah, this showed us the other half of the game, like the action sequence, you know, stuff, and you kind of have to think of both of these trailers coming like back to back, like watching them like sequentially, and how they're building up to something really good for this game, which also doesn't have a release date, right?
Yeah, it just, I guess, Tomb Raider trailer that's why it was more successful for me, because they showed, you know, this like intense climbing sequence where you climb and, you know, stuff is falling on you, and then they showed the combat and like the stealth sequences, where here they just showed the driving.
Yeah. What else stuck out to you guys, for you guys about Sony?
Yeah, Horizon Zero. That wasn't shown at Sony.
Ah, okay.
Horizon Zero Dawn, I think, was the best new IP shown at Avery.
Oh yeah, Horizon looked really good.
They showed Dark Souls 3, but it was like barely could be considered a teaser reveal. I mean, it wasn't.
That was actually at the Xbox conference.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was. Damn.
Mm-hmm. Which is interesting, right? Because it means it's coming on Xbox.
And
Yeah,
Yeah,
And
they
of
said
course-
Xbox, PS4, and PC was negotiable.
Interesting.
And of course, there was Shenmue 3, which everyone is just in their pants over, apparently.
Hmm. That
Yeah,
hasn't
did the
closed yet.
Kickstarter announce on a E3 conference?
This broke Kickstarter for about 5 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
and it raised $550,000 in about 15 minutes. I don't know how long it took to reach $1 million, but it was a little bit longer than that.
People got more dollars and cents, man.
I mean, people
Whatever.
have been waiting for this game to come out. And
You know what? I hear
it's
that.
just as big as Final Fantasy VII Remake.
We
really.
hear that all the time. Oh, people were waiting for this, but no one was talking about it in the meantime.
I never.
Nah,
Who the
pe-
fuck was
they-
even talking about
people were
Shenmue
talking
ever?
about that. People were talking about Shenmue. People have been talking about Shenmue.
Well,
Maybe not people you
Fuck is a
listen to,
Shenmue?
Yeah, no, not people that I listen to, clearly.
but this made grown men cry. This announcement.
Then they're just
So
pussies.
glad. So glad that it made people cry. So overall, Sony did good, guys? Better than Xbox?
Mhm.
The one thing I will say, the No Man's Sky gameplay they showed with the guy coming out and showing it off actually made the game look worse.
Well, you know why? Because
Yeah, that
it's
was probably the biggest disappointment
confirmed
of
that this
whole
game
conference.
confirmed for me and everyone else in here that this game was exactly what we thought it was going to be. It's just like a resource compiler out. It's a bullshit game.
Yeah, it just didn't look like there's anything to do in that game.
Yeah, they've just been showing the same shit for a year and a half. I mean, that was a really bad presentation on their part.
Hey, listen, last year they got us all hyped for this game. And they did the same thing at the Game Awards. And this year, I think we were kind of just sick of it. It's kind of like, just give us the game already. Otherwise, stop talking about it. Because now we know what it is. The cat's out of the bag. People aren't that interested anymore.
Now I know a lot of people are saying this is like the best conference in history and everything, but there's a lot of disappointing stuff shown there. I mean, like they spent 20 minutes plus on Call of Duty Black Ops 3, which isn't really a PlayStation game. So I mean, I know they get an exclusive DLC.
Yeah,
But it is now.
but it sells, and yeah.
It's just because, Xbox didn't have enough time to shove it into their presentation, and EA was too busy talking about... Ubisoft was too busy talking about Tom Clancy games, so...
That game felt like it was just like America the game. Like the guy was just flat out impervious to bullets, blowing up
America
tanks.
the game.
Blowing up tanks with his pistol and shit like that. It was just absolutely ridiculous. Michael Bay explosions everywhere, and then they have the Titanfall elements with the parkour. You can run up walls.
There's a 14-year-old girl in tight shorts running by.
That's my kind of America.
That sounds like Japanese again, but okay.
You ever seen a Michael Bay movie?
All right, so Square Enix. So Square Enix had a conference, interestingly enough. We've kind of hit upon a lot of their stuff already. We talked about the FF7 remake. They're also porting the PC version of the game to iOS. No one gives a fuck. What kind of matters to you out of this? I know, obviously.
Just Cause 3.
Just Cause 3? You actually like Just Cause?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's a tremendously fun, just like sandbox, just to go and play and blow shit up.
This made the Tom Clancy Ghost Recon Wildlands game, which was trying to copy the kind of Just Cause gameplay, I think, look like crap.
Is Just Cause the game where you can use knife and duct tape to make like a machine gun? Is that?
Yeah, but no, it's like a big open world game where you can do anything. Pretty much.
It's the one where you can.
The whole point of it is building chaos.
Attach, vehicles to aircraft and all sorts of crazy shit.
Okay.
It is a tremendous amount of chaos you can cause.
Okay.
Yeah, you
It's
get
Square Enix's
chaos
version
points.
of GTA.
Yeah, similar. There's vehicles you can commandeer, and
It's a very fun
got
sandbox
missions.
game.
if you haven't played it, it's on sale on Steam all the time.
I own the first two. I bought them on a package. I couldn't get into it.
Yeah, you could probably forgo the first one, just play the second one, and you'll get the idea.
I may do that then because I was playing the first one.
Square Enix did really poorly in the presentation as well too, but they did have games to show.
This one I didn't actually see, so I will defer to your judgment on this one. The lineup doesn't look all that exciting though.
They announced Nier 2. I never heard of Nier, but apparently it was an RPG.
I heard of that game.
A lot of people liked it. I bought it, I played it for 3 hours and then never finished it.
You say a lot. Do you mean like Mirror's Edge people liked it a lot?
No, more than that. And I can see why people liked it. I never got far enough into it, I don't think.
No, I had to go. I immediately went and watched the trailer of this gameplay, and it looked like a really mediocre action RPG to me. Apparently, it has a great story.
And music. Yeah, people say it has great soundtrack.
Oh, that'll win everyone over.
Well, what Square Enix game does not have a great soundtrack?
This is true.
Yeah.
Deus Ex was there.
Yeah, it was there.
Sort of.
Kind of. And Hitman was kind of there too as well. Sort of.
Square Enix is just horrible at advertising their own games.
Well, they announced a bunch of mobile games, and they first came on announcing they were talking about Kingdom Hearts, and then we're again all excited. Square Enix they're gonna show Kingdom Hearts free stuff, and I mean they eventually did. We'll get to that later, but they came out and they showed some fucking mobile game that's definitely going to be full of in-app purchases. It just looked like a flat out just milking in-app purchases. This looked like all the bravest, pretty much, for Kingdom Hearts. And yeah,
they,
that was the typical Square Enix troll.
Yeah, it's Kingdom Hearts X Unchained is what the game referring to, right?
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Awful.
And they haven't even shown 15, which leads me to believe that it's probably not coming out till December next year.
But then they kind of made up for it and showed a lot of Kingdom Hearts 3 gameplay.
Yeah, and we got a trailer that really showed off a good amount of gameplay and combat and what the graphics are going to look like and how it's going to play. I mean, it looks a lot like, you know, the other Kingdom Hearts games.
They announced that the world from Enchanted will be in there. If they announced that world from Frozen would be in there, that game would sell 1 billion copies like Frozen did.
Yeah, in like a minute.
Well, you got to do something for DLC.
Yeah. They put Frozen in it, I'm telling you.
So
that movie made like $3 billion.
They're the most mobile games out of any conference.
They sure did. They absolutely did.
But they showed Star Ocean 5, and I've been hearing a lot of news about that game, and I'm kind of excited for that game now. I mean,
you're not alone. There's a lot of people who are.
Terrible. Star Ocean 4 was terrible, but they've been saying stuff like, we're not going to include any DLC whatsoever. We're just going to release the full game as it is, which is great to hear from a developer nowadays. And they said they're not. This is not going to be like Star Ocean 4 at all. It's good. They're going back to the classic Star Ocean games, which I haven't played, so I can't comment on. But as long as it's not like Star Ocean 4, that's a big plus, because Star Ocean 4 was terrible. Does anyone agree, disagree?
Well, I mean, I didn't play them, but I know the guys in NI were excited. Some of the guys were excited for Star Ocean 5. So I'm sure that feeling is all over the damn place. So, all right. So
there was one more big announcement too, and it's that they're coming out with a new JRPG studio that focuses entirely on JRPGs, and it's called Tokyo RPG Factory. And they're coming out with a game called Setsuna, but they didn't show any gameplay of it, so yeah. I think that's kind of a big deal. I mean, more JRPGs are going to be nice, and that's what Square Enix used to focus on. So
yeah, and it's Square Enix also showing, you know, their strength as a publisher. Like, they really want to be able to publish more and more stuff, like buying up studios over the past decade. Like, they don't, you know, their first party stuff is still desired, but they're a very strong publisher as well as developer at times, so good on them.
They just need to do a better job advertising themselves.
Well, you know, they probably do a better job in the East. We probably don't get a lot of their stuff here in the West.
Yeah.
In terms of that. Okay, so
yeah, I was just gonna say, if you have Final Fantasy 15 coming out, you should just drop at least like small glimpse into it.
Oh yeah, it should be every time they do an interview, they should talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Every single time. But they don't, you know. They're humble Japanese people. All right, so the last...
Please look forward to it.
The last conference...
No, I want to say one more thing about Square Enix.
Uh-huh.
My overall feeling of the conference was you did not show Chrono Trigger gameplay, you fucking trolls.
That's true,
but
did not.
They trolled you with the music, right? In the teaser trailer?
Yeah, and they made an E3 hype video with Chrono Trigger music, so we're all like, yes, we're going to get a new Chrono Trigger game, or a remake of the Chrono Trigger game, or even a fucking port of the Chrono Trigger game. No!
Nothing. Not a peep about Chrono Trigger. But maybe it's behind glass, ready to be broken when they need it. In case of emergency. Okay, so the last conference, quote unquote, was the PC gaming conference, which was fucking boring. But there's some interesting stuff, I guess, to pull out of this. Naughtius, why don't you tell us what you thought was fun about it?
Not a whole lot.
Not a whole lot. All right. I will tell you what I thought was interesting. So there's going to be a Pillars of Eternity expansion. I did not necessarily enjoy Pillars of Eternity, but it's good to see Obsidian is expanding on their game. Past that, yeah, there's not a whole lot. The Gears of War Ultimate Edition is going to PC. That's nice. Other than that, you know, there really wasn't a whole lot to go on. We know that Clearlink Floor 2, which has been released as PC only, for now, anyway. Yeah, the PC shows are not as interesting as the console shows because, I don't know, A lot of press
No,
goes to them?
this one was just done badly, and it really wasn't, a fault of any single party. But AMD had a big part in making this thing just a snooze fest.
This is
When you're hauling out like the CEO to talk about your future, graphics card, and for 20 minutes, it's just like, fucking really?
first off, number one, a PC gaming conference. This is a press conference. This is for revealing games and getting people excited for future games. This is not for a fucking gaming talk show. Do not sit out there and talk with developers for hours and show games that have already released and things like that. This was really poorly done. It made me fall asleep almost. It was 2.5 hours long, the longest, almost twice as long as most press conferences.
I thought it was closer to 3.
Yeah, it's closer to 3 hours. It was twice as long as most press conferences take for no reason whatsoever. And they showed a bunch of games that are already released. They did a lot of talking and not a lot of showing. And there was a couple things of note on there. Let me go through real quick.
Yeah,
the Guild Wars 2 expansion was shown. They showed off new stuff for that.
But they didn't even show a whole lot. Just the guild halls, and everyone keeps talking about this expansion for Guild Wars 2 and how they're going to buy it and it's going to be awesome. But outside of the land and screenshots of the land and some video footage in the freaking guild halls, we know absolutely nothing else about the game. What kind of content are we going to be getting? They could have talked about that. Are there going to be raids? Probably not. But it would have been nice to, Day 9 could have actually interrogated these people a lot more.
There was Planet Coaster shown, which looked pretty cool.
I'm so I know I'm a PC gamer, but did not interest me at all.
I think the most interesting thing they showed at the conference, which is kind of sad, was Enter the Gungeon, because they actually went and played that game, and they were talking about the game while playing it, and so we got to see the gameplay of it, and it looked like a fun game. It's kind of like a ball hell game. It's very indie, but I mean that was the most interesting game for me at the PC Games Conference, which just shows you how bad this conference was. Because that game should not, be the most interesting game. It's a very small indie game.
Yeah. Oh boy.
The Planet Coaster thing was an interesting reveal. I mean, that's pretty interesting for the Frontier Studio guys to take on. It's, from what they said, they're basically recreating the Roller Coaster Tycoon series, but they're changing the name because there are a lot of Tycoon games out there, and a lot of them are pretty piss poor. So they're not wanting to associate the name, and I get that. And I don't know. They did a good job with Elite Dangerous, so I got high hopes with Planet Coaster.
Alrighty. So here's the big question, guys. What was the best show for you this year at E3? I mean, we've talked a lot. We talked about all these shows. Naughties, what was your number one?
We're not going to go over the games that were announced at conferences.
The games that were announced at conferences?
That weren't announced at conferences, but were announced in E3.
Do you want to? I mean, we can. I mean, what games were not announced at the conference?
Well, there were some games that weren't present at the conference at all. Persona 5 wasn't.
Okay.
The Tales of games weren't.
Well, you know how it is. These guys have 90 minutes to show something. I mean, they can't show everything. They're going to put a lot of stuff on the floor, at booths and things like that we don't get to see.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't see really much from Atlas, Exceed, any of those companies, but they did have a showing on the floor.
They sure did. Was that pretty much all the games you wanted to mention? The Atlas stuff?
There was another. This is best in show for me. Another Summer Lesson VR demo. That's a joke, by the way. It's not best in show.
I hope it is. So anyway, back to the original question.
Right. So I'm gonna have to go with Bethesda there for the best show and the biggest surprise for me. Like I said, I vehemently hated Fallout 3. I came in prepared to hate Fallout 4. And just from the technical side of things, it's looking like I could have a lot of fun in Fallout 4, even if the story blows, and even if the NPCs are not memorable in the least bit, and the main story is completed in 30 minutes with no real difficulty at all. I'll let all that go just to be able to build up the world and have fun in it.
Totally. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Seaver, what was the best what was the best show for you, and what best game maybe?
I'll do best worst. Worst, no doubt, No Man's Sky. That really pissed me off. Let's show the same, enter the atmosphere, land, fight some robots. Oh, there's resource. I mean, they've been showing that shit for a year and a half.
Pew pew.
They didn't have a release date. They said we're gonna have a release date soon. Like, get off the stage.
Okay,
Dicks.
you're right. No
I
release
think
date, big deal.
Doom was a pretty big surprise. I mean, they were kind of going into the whole horror surprise scare flick shit with Doom 3. Now they're kind of going back to the roots of more action oriented. Felt like gruesome action oriented. So definitely look forward to that.
All right. Doom was really. I mean, I don't know. I didn't expect Doom, and for the way that it started that conference, it really, again, set the tone. So it was good. Papa, what about for you? What was your best in show?
Oh boy. Well, like I said, I didn't really watch a lot of the other conferences because work and World Cup and all that good shit. But honestly, for me, at least based upon what I'm interested in, I'd probably say Mario Maker. That shit literally looks like the shit. So I can definitely see myself spending a lot of my time on it come September and October after it releases.
Alrighty.
Then again, I'm a biased Nintendo fanboy, so don't take my word for it. Just like you shouldn't take these guys' words for anything involving Square Enix or, any of that good stuff.
That's not true. We can like what we like. What's wrong with that? We like your opinion on Nintendo things. It's very important.
That's actually the only reason they still keep me around.
That's not true either. Come to the tabletop night. Unlike Lucy, who doesn't come to anything. What was your best in show, Lucy?
I mean, I probably like the Sony one the best, but as a presentation for a game, I think would be Tomb Raider. Like, that was the most memorable for me.
Now that's fanboyism talking.
I mean, I'm excited for Final Fantasy VII, but that's not gonna come out for another 20 years, so.
Yeah, right. And they just announced it, right? So I mean, probably gonna hear about it soon.
Yeah.
I thought the multi-generational cross-cap release was Kingdom Hearts, the next one.
Yeah, that was good too, and I'm actually excited for Dark Souls 3 because it's from the original director.
Yeah, I mean, I would have liked to seen something. They had a few interviews with him, but they're all just blah.
Yeah.
There was really nothing other than an announce.
Yeah, there's a lot of pictures actually, and apparently the production on this started a year before Dark Souls 2.
Makes sense.
Yeah, definitely Dark Souls would have been a big thing.
Explains why he was not around for Dark Souls 2.
Yeah, he was making Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3, so I was...
And he's a CEO, so he can just kind of do whatever the fuck he wants at all time.
Yeah, I wasn't that impressed with Dark Souls 2, so I'm really looking forward to this one. And it's coming out like early next year, so that's nice too.
See, so you'll hear more about it towards the end of the year. Probably at the Game Awards, we'll hear a little about it.
It's coming out spring next year, which means end of July for Japanese.
Okay. So we'll see it at E3 as well.
Yeah.
All right, very good. AI, what was the best in show for you?
All right. Well, to me, it's either between Bethesda and Sony, and I have to say, like, Bethesda had its down moments, but Sony had more of them, and they spent more time on them. So I think Bethesda wins out there. The Doom reveal was kind of big, and the Fallout 4, of course. As far as best in show goes for game, I'm gonna have to go with Fallout 4 just because it just had an amazing presentation. They showed lots of new stuff in the game, which I can't really say about a lot of the other big reveals. And they even announced a release date and everything, and pretty much everything about the announcement just gets you excited about the game. So Yeah, that's the best intro for me.
Yeah, I agree with that 120%. For me, it's Bethesda, um, because you know what? I don't think they needed to show us that much about Fallout 4, and they went above and beyond what was needed to show us to make us buy that game. The collector's edition looks awesome. I'm not getting it for myself, but my wife is getting it, and it will be cool to have a Pip-Boy around that works with our iPhone. So even if it's stupid and novel, it's something that they do collector's editions really well for the Fallout series. So I like that. The best at show game, yeah, has to be Fallout for me. But just the conference in general, like Doom really kicked ass. As much of a Doom player as I am not, I was impressed by it. And the Wolfenstein games that came out in the past couple of years were great. And this is hopefully in the same vein of quality that they give us for Doom, but in the Doom style instead. So yeah, and plus it was the first show, and the first time they were there to make such an impact like that and be so memorable. To me, it has to be the best thing we've seen, because all these other companies sometimes they just, they go up there, just march out with a lineup of